line and cutting those lines. Now when you're actually cutting in, especially with knot work, what I try to do is I do all the cross sections first. So I'll make my lines here, and then I can just meet those up later. And I'm not going to tool this whole thing here, but you'll get the general idea. And why this is important is because if you have super detailed, intricate work, smaller lines, which is going to cause a little bit more need to function or focus for things to function right. You can see the smaller stuff right there. You don't want to rush it, and that's why you want to make sure your crossing lines are always done first, and then you just meet up everything. And then, like for the smaller lines and stuff, is very important, because if you cut sometimes too thin, or you forget an area and you go to bevel that, it's really hard to fix at that point, in my opinion anyways. And then once I cut those cross sections, just giving you guys an idea, I'll go and then always put your blade into that cut and then cut away. Notice I'm running into an area right here, and I've sometimes slipped and went into this main line right here. You can see sometimes you'll slip and you'll cut into this. The way you avoid that is just flip your leather around, go into that cut, and just cut the opposite direction. And you don't need to move it fast, just nice and slow. Also, make sure you always sharpen your blade often. A sharp knife makes clean cuts. Remember that. Sharp knife makes clean cuts. If you don't, it's going to be hard to cut your material. You're going to slip and you're going to cut things you don't intend to. And once it's cut in, it's permanent. And it's really hard to fix that. So you guys kind of get the general idea there. And then once you get things kind of cut in, you just kind of meet those lines up. You can go the opposite direction if you want to make it look cleaner. And, you know, just put some music on, get in the zone, and enjoy. Next, I'm going to show you guys the beveling, or not the beveling, the backgrounding. See how I'm kind of just moving my swivel, and I'm moving the leather at the same time, but I'm stopping about right there. Same thing with right here. And I'm working it around. You don't need to make, you know, sometimes it's better to make a few starting cuts and then go back and meet up the lines. I say that a lot, but I cannot stress it enough, because that's what will help you. Like right here, I haven't cut that overpass. Sometimes you'll get dizzy making these knots and you have to go back through. But if I were to start cutting that way, I'd most likely risk cutting into this main line right in here. So start in the cut away from it, and then just meet them up. So you get the general idea. Let's move on to doing the backgrounding. Now real quick, when it comes to doing your backgrounding or more tooling, you want to do what's called casing your leather. You're going to have a better imprint once you start using your maul and you're starting to hit your tool into the leather. So here's all you do. So you take that piece that we were just cutting, and it's kind of damp still. You can run it over a little bit more water, throw it into a Ziploc bag, seal it up, try to get all the air out of it, and leave it for about 30 minutes. You can also leave it for days if you want to. And all that's going to do is keep the surface nice and not really wet, but moist in the underlining layer and nothing else. And you'll be able to get a better impression once you start tooling. So this one's been casing for a while, and you can see it doesn't look wet, but let's see what happens here when we start hitting it. Now I'm going to show you the smallest backgrounding tool I have, and what it does and why you got to be careful, because sometimes this can make deeper grooves by using the same amount of force as you use with this guy. Usually, I mean, I'll show you what I mean here. I'll do a couple areas, but also remember that sharp point, or the blade point, and then that round. What I want to do is I want to put that sharp point into the cut and where that is, and then I'm going to make my hit. Reason why is because that's going to give me a sharper angle and it's going to look better. But I want to show you here why you got to be careful with this guy, because hitting it as hard as I just did goes in really deep, as you can see. I don't know if you guys can see that or not, but that's really deep. But working in areas that are tight like this, and I've already recorded it, but I'm going to do it again here. You just really want to work this tool. You can just hit it lightly and then just kind of go over those areas until you're okay with the desired depth. And then once it opens up more, you can move back to that tool. But remember to grab those lines with whatever tool you're using and kind of just put it at an angle, as you can see like I'm doing right here, and I'm kind of pulling the leather away from that line before I do my imprint. And I'm going to go ahead and just finish tooling this so you guys can see. But remember to take your time on this. Try to get even depths, because that's going to just make things easier if you're going to do background stain a different color, and it's not going to bleed onto your main lines right in here. If you don't have a deep enough impression, you're going to risk getting whatever other color you're doing here versus here, if that makes sense.
Not like the whole time, but
Yeah. Next, we're going to be doing the beveling, and I used to use a lot of tools, but honestly, learning how to use this spoon has been awesome, and it gives extremely good results. It makes the image pop more. And what you want to focus on first is your underlining cuts. Now, this is just a quick design that I drew up. Again, I'm not showing you how to do knots, but it's the same method of what I would do for my sheaths like this. As you can see here, I beveled everything, and you can do that with the spoon edge. So start here, really just press in until you get a nice crease where that line is going underneath, and you'll see the bruising that it does to the leather. That's what you want. That's how you know it's flat. And when this is cased, this is actually going a little bit dry, but when this is cased right, it's really easy to do. You'll get that bruising really easy. You don't have to press very hard. So once I do like an area like this, you don't have to. You can do all your underlines, but then what you can do is the beveling. So you're just going to take your spoon and go around the edges. A lot of people do this before they do the backgrounding. I like to do it after, just because I want to make sure I pushed enough indentation for this line to pop out. That's just how I do things. And if you you saw how I went up like this, if you just take your spoon and you just kind of make circular motions, that's the one, that'll help smooth that out. It won't completely make it go away, but it won't really stand out too much. And again, we're just working our way around. I'm going to do a little bit more work here and show you guys what it looks like, because I think you get the general idea. Just take your time. It's not a race, and it makes a really, really good finish. But you can see how that's starting to bruise the outline there. That is, again, what you're looking for. And you also want to make sure your cuts are done right, because if they're not fully cut all the way up to the line, it won't be able to bevel that well. You'll have to go back and cut that, which is not a big deal. Happens a lot. All right, guys, almost done here. And like when you're doing these lines that are going underneath the line, You really have to do is just arc your spoon in and then just go back and forth, and it'll make that. It'll push that line down, and it's a lot more effective in my opinion than using some of the other tools for leathering. The spoon works wonders, honestly. Makes it simple, and it makes a nice little shine too, which is interesting. But that's just all the bruising is doing. And you can just go over your lines a few times if you want. If you're not happy with the impression, you can just make it deeper or just keep going over it until you are satisfied with it. All right. And I think we have this. Also, doing this will widen your lines, which will help with that antiquing gel getting in there and making your image really stand out, such as this sheath. I did the same method for all of this. It just opens up those lines ever so much more. And there we have it, guys. We'll do a close up here with me talking about it. There we have it, y'all. So again, I'm not showing you how to draw knots. This is just a simple design I just came up with, but it's the same thing I use for this, same one I use for a lot of my stuff I do, and it gives you really good results. I mean, simple background tool, your spoon of your stylus, you know, it just does so much. Casing it is a big thing. If you case your leather right, it just does so much more than just soaking your leather. And honestly, you don't need to keep your leather super wet to do the tooling, the backgrounding, or anything like that. In fact, it'll be a sponge and it'll actually push back up once it's dried. So, guys, this is what I'm going to say. Okay, if you can draw, make your own designs. Try to be creative. The only way I'm going to be able to get to where other leather craftsmen are, or other people that draw amazing knot artwork, is by trying new things and thinking outside the box and just practice and have fun with it. Don't get frustrated. You will get dizzy if you do super crazy, knots everywhere and going, the whole pattern stuff, and when they taper out bigger or smaller, it's fun, but you will get dizzy. I guarantee it. But anyways, guys, have fun with it. Be creative. Make it your own. Thank you so much for watching this. And if you can please help me, I'm trying to reach 100 subscribers by May 2023. All right, guys, we'll see you for the next tutorial. Next time, maybe I'll do it on how I do kind of my fade effect there. If you're interested in that, let me know. God bless.